Hi, I'm Subhay Babarwal, part of the UFP administration team at IIHS, and I welcome the alumni of the UFP to take over this live edition. We'll just
Sure,
wait for Vivek to
Vivek.
join in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, I'll introduce Riddhi D'souza, who's a research associate at Center for Child and Law at NLSIU Bangalore. And Sanjana Meshram is a lawyer and research associate at Criminal Justice and Police Accountability Project Bhopal. And I'm glad that you've joined in today to interact with our audience and sort of demystify the process of the UFP program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. So excited.
Hi,
Hi.
Vivek. So, Vivek is a research officer at the Institute of Public Health, Bangalore. So, I welcome you, Vivek, to our AMA session.
Thank you.
So, tell me about how was this program for you? How did you begin being part of the UFP?
Sure, I can go first if that's okay, Sanjana and Vivek.
yeah, sure.
So I'm a trained lawyer, and during law school, I was pretty sure that I didn't want to get into litigation and I didn't want to join corporate law. And I think I figured that out in my second year. So that actually left at that point of time, I wasn't really sure like what other career trajectories I could kind of pursue. But soon after law school, I had this really exciting opportunity to work with Amnesty International India, and I worked on the Access to Justice program, and I worked on like pretrial detention and criminal justice reforms. And I think at that point, I kind of knew that I really enjoyed research, but I also knew that there were like different kinds of research. And at some point, I didn't know, like, for example, I could feel a lot of things, but I didn't know how to think about them. I didn't know how to pursue certain questions. And that's when I actually met an ex-fellow, and he told me about the program. I went, I checked it out. It sounded extremely exciting, and I spoke to a couple of people. And then, I actually wanted to join the program so badly. Then, as soon as my contract with Amnesty got over, because the project wrapped up, I kind of like, I was sure that like in 5 months, I'm going to spend those 5 months. I'm going to read about the program. I'm going to like dedicate everything and like, like put in all that effort into my application. So I was really sure about, why I wanted to do the program, what I wanted from the program. And that's when I applied and, got through. So yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, is it okay if I go next?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, go ahead, sure.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Riddhi, for telling. But I'll not relate with Riddhi because I am also trained in law and I am litigating lawyer now. So since very beginning, I was very much sure that I want to pursue litigation. So when I knew about this program, I was very much confused ki what I'll get from this fellowship. But I come from a non-metro city, and when I moved to Mumbai for law, so when I see Mumbai, so I was not able to make sense of it. So when I see the condition of urban poor there, so I was interested to know more about it. I was interested to know more about metro city. So when I got to know about UFP, I joined that program with a very clear mindset that what I want from that program, with the clear understanding also that I don't want to live litigation in future. So when I was into it, I was planning, I was doing that constant effort to connect that and learning from the UFP to my legal knowledge and legal engagements. Yeah, that's how I joined UFP.
I think you're on, Vivek, you're on mute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
think you're
Vivek,
can't
you're
on
hear
not.
you.
mute.
Can
Can't
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
Now,
can.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Sorry. So the time I got to know about the Urban Fellows program was during my masters when I was studying political science at the University of Mumbai. And it so happened that during my masters, I was interested in some courses that my professors were teaching at the electives, particularly urban politics urban governance, and pretty much every time during my masters, the word urban kept repeating again and again and again. Whether it was the course title, whether it was the contents of the course, whether it was extra, literature reading that we had to do, this word urban kept on repeating. At the same time, towards the end of my sort of electives, I got the opportunity to work with Praja, which is a organization working on urban governance, and they work on several indicators like health, education, and also other public sort of works like with various departments at the municipal level. So the work there involved speaking to councillors, municipal corporators at the ward level in Mumbai. Put in groups, and we had to sort of schedule calls with corporators. They would cancel, we would have to follow up with them, go to their ward offices, speak about we were given sort of big white papers of data on the status of health in Mumbai, the status of urban governance in Mumbai, the status of let's say solid waste management in Mumbai, and indicators as to which wards were doing well, which wards were not doing well, which wards were implementing certain policies, and this was the data that we had sort to we had to pitch to the councillors, saying that okay, your ward is doing well. What else do you want to, how further you want to strengthen these areas that come under your constituency? Or for instance, these health and education are really worse in your ward. How do you wish to see these indicators improved in your sort of term? So this experience gave me an understanding of how urban governance is lived in everyday life. Like the implementation of these urban governance reforms, the implementation of, let's say, health and education policies at the municipal level. And at the same time, my theoretical sort of understanding of urban governance, urban politics. There was one paper at the university that I took on comparative urban politics, where we looked at several issues that are similar to IIHS curriculum on identity, on governance, on sort of institutions, on how governance systems are sort of transformed over time. So towards the end of my masters, I attended an event at India Culture Lab, which is in Vikhroli, and it was the Urban Lens Film Festival. And at that time, I was unaware that Urban Lens Film Festival is kind of like the feature film festival of IIHS. So I attended that because, again, the word urban was very repetitive there. I was very curious to know of these issues from a visual lens, and that is how I got to know of this fellowship when they sort of promoted, and that's how I applied.
Well, that's interesting. It seems like Vivek had a sign from above about joining the UFC. What I'm also interested is to understand while you were a fellow, what was your idea about what the program would offer you, and how did that change in your course in a way that it led to your trajectory where you are at today?
Yeah, so as I told you, I was sure that I want to continue litigation in future, right? So and I was while I was in college also and my training also, I did not know anything about data or research. So when I joined UFP gave me that skill set, and so I joined data skill lab, and there it gave me something very little, but something to make sense of data or research or qualitative or quantitative data. So I can say that UFP has given me a confidence to apply for an organization which is the intervention of both litigation and research. So I am working in an organization now which is doing both research and litigation. So UFP gave me that confidence to apply for it, and yeah, it gave me that skills, confidence, understanding, technical understanding, yeah, of data mostly. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, similarly. So I think when you study like one discipline, especially when you study law, you learn to think in like one way, and there's this singular
Yeah,
logic. Like either things are constitutional or they're not, or
correct.
you have this right or you don't. But I think
Don't.
when I joined the fellowship, and then, when I engaged with people who thought so differently about things, and, I would like, I remember we had the practica, and it was so exciting but also annoying, because from 5 different disciplines we went into this space, and then we all got just such different things about it. Like, since I'm a lawyer, I looked at like governance, like, Vivek was saying, and somebody looked at only the economy, and somebody looked at the bill form, and I was like, at that point, I was like, why would anybody look at the bill form? But in so
Bill
many
form,
ways,
correct.
yeah, I realized that it also informs, the way like space is located and things like that. So one, I think it's really important, because later on, you're always going to, like, most in all probability, you're going to work like in an interdisciplinary team, and it's really important to kind of be able to acknowledge and realize and consume, different ideas and disciplines, and realize what those disciplines kind of, like, coming from each discipline also means that you're going to ask a certain set of questions in a certain way, right? So I think it really gave, it opened my mind. It gave me a lot of, like, it gave me the vocabulary to kind of express things that I had, been feeling but didn't know how to take forward. Like, what are the different ways in which structural inequality manifests? And like I said, I was really interested in research, and to actually like force me to push, those boundaries, and, be uncomfortable with certain tensions and things like that, which I didn't really have the opportunity to do either. Like, I think when you just start working, you're not at that level. So even though you have those questions, you can't pursue them. And in college, like, we're all trained in certain disciplines, so they're not open to that. So I think, yeah, it gave me that skill set. It gave me a lot of confidence to, like, express myself. And yeah, I think those were like, it was like an unparalleled experience in that context.
Yeah, I have to agree with Riddhi, because we come from the same batch, and I agree of the tensions in practica and assignments, and just in class, just having different viewpoints because you come from different disciplines. I mean, I have a training in economics and political science, so basically, humanities and social sciences. And for me, when the first time I read the website, and I was like, oh, there'll be courses on planning, on urban planning, on economy, and on governance, on sustainability, things like that. I was really curious. But honestly, at the time, in class, I didn't have the language to kind of associate, with what planners and architects, kind of talk about in their everyday kind of practice. So for me, at the same time, it was challenging to understand from where they're coming from, but at the same time, it was a learning experience for me to take it, as it comes, and see this as not just a shortcoming, but as an opportunity to, take your step forward, and learn from different disciplines, learn that every sort of problem or issue that you're working on has multiple perspectives coming from multiple areas, and people have their own sort of walks of life, their realities, where they're coming from. Currently, I work at the Institute of Public Health, which is primarily as it public health organization. And given my academic background, I have no public health experience. So for me, it felt like a total sort of, I wouldn't say U-turn, but going forward in a different direction. Sort of exploring public health, but also coming, using my skills as an economist, as a political scientist, trying to look at policies, public health policies and laws from that perspective. So for me, it's been really a great experience. The skills that I got from the fellowship, especially the GIS sort of courses, helped me in my current work at IPH, where we sort of experimented with maps, and the current work that I've been doing here at IPH. we've used certain data sets to, extrapolate and then use them and visualize not just, conventional sort of bar diagrams or charts that one could always think of, but going further and, visualizing them into maps and different sort of interactive, using interactive based softwares. So all of these things were very new, and I wasn't aware of all this earlier, prior to the fellowship. But as I joined and as I knew that, okay, or, as an architect, you are using these softwares and this is the output you're creating. As an urban planner, you're using these skills and this is the, the kind of work you're doing. As a designer, you're using these applications and this is the kind of work that you are visualizing. So for me, it was a big picture of, all disciplines coming together, the messiness that Riddhi explained, and also having having a lot of fun with this messiness as well. So yeah, for me, it has definitely helped me a lot in terms of my career sort of prospects, and it has given me a sort of foundation as to what I want to do further after work, whether it's getting a master's or doing a PhD. And focusing on which topic, on the intersection of public health and planning, things like that. So yeah, it has really helped me a lot.
This is really interesting, actually, to understand how all of you sort of came to a singular plane, right, from different disciplines, where you got exposed to different sort of ideas and perspectives and try to stitch a narrative out of it. And I feel that the program sort of does that to you. It transforms you in the way you see and look at things. But also, what I'd like to highlight is that the program also comes in with a 2 months internship period. So would you guys like to talk about your process of internship and where you did it and what was the takeaway from that?
Yeah. So I can go first because I think after I worked in Amnesty, I had some idea that I wanted to work in public health. And at that point, I felt that I wasn't really keen to retain my legal training. I would like to do something a little more interdisciplinary. But breaking into public health is very difficult because it's, especially in India, I think it's very focused on the biomedical, and it's not looked at as an interdisciplinary like field of inquiry, right? So actually, that's another reason I kind of like joined the program. I was like, this is a great opportunity, so I'll take the health elective. So it was very planned. And, surprisingly at that point, actually, when I look back, I had looked at this project. I even knew what project I wanted to work with. And then I learned that Dr. Payne, who's the director at IPH, was leading that project. And he was taking this elective, and he had actually advertised this position that, for a research officer. And so I kind of, so I wrote to him like a little like annoyed him, and I was like, I really want to be like, because this was a great opportunity and I really pursued that. And during the 2 month internship, he was really nice and I got the internship. And so during the 2 month internship, I was so sure that I wanted to, be able to write this academic paper. And then I worked on that grant for like 2.5 years. And I think it really shaped my, career trajectory, because after that I was so sure, like I would have never thought as a lawyer that I would want to study public health or I would want to work in public health. But I think it really kind of reinforced and cemented that fact. So that internship was absolutely imperative because it kind of exposed me first to public health, which was the domain that I was really like, I had some idea, but it also kind of, told me that like as a lawyer, there's so much that I could, contribute. So yeah, I think that internship was like, it was such an important like part of like choosing it and being strategic about it was like such an important part of the process. And I think, yeah, it really did shape, like that was the one thing that really did shape my, career. And I'm so grateful for that. I don't think I'd ever be able to have access to that job if I didn't take the elective or pursue that internship. And I remember I was so apprehensive. I remember speaking to a faculty and saying, I don't have that rigorous, I don't have a master's. I don't have any domain knowledge about public health. And they really encouraged me to just apply. And I think that was what really kind of, made sure that I saw things through. So yeah, I'm so grateful for that. I think that was like, yeah, a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Okay, my experience was very different. I applied to intern with one human rights litigating lawyer in Delhi. But when I was about to go there, I was down, me and my whole family got down with COVID, so I had to drop the plan. But yeah, after that, I was in constant touch with the faculties of IIHS, and they were also helping me to apply for other jobs or internships. So I got job here at the Criminal Justice and Police Accountability Project. So it is a litigation and research intervention, and we work on the question of casteist policing and the targeting of certain communities, especially the nomadic and semi-nomadic tribes, or known as Vimuktas. So we do strategic litigation. We work with the bastis. We work with the Vimukta communities here. We go to field. We try to do qualitative and quantitative research, and we also try to study, and here in research we study the public data of FIRs and arrest records, which is publicly available on police website. So this is the kind of work my organization does. So yes, UFP has given me that skill of reading data and going to field. And when I go to field here, I'll not say field, I'll say community or basti. So when I go to community here, I have that perspective or lens to look at the community now with a very. So, I remember they were teaching us how to do qualitative research, and I can. So when I was learning that, when I was sitting in a UFP class, it was very challenging for me because I was not able to make sense ki how I will apply it in my real life. I don't know as a litigating lawyer ये मुझे कभी काम भी आएगा या नहीं. But yeah, it's been a 1 year now, and now in daily on day-to-day basis, I'm able to connect the UFP learning to my work here now. So it has given me a lot. And also the curriculum is structured in such a way that as you go along, or as you go forward to the end of the fellowship, you will be able to make more sense of it. And also when you leave it, will not leave you. The learnings and the teaching will be with you throughout your life, and daily it will give you. Yes, because daily I am able to connect my work to the learning I got in UFP. Yes. And I want to tell every audience who was watching this live from sitting in a non-metro city, and also hesitating to apply for this fellowship just because of the barrier of language. So please don't feel that, and just apply for it, because you can apply, and also you write application and give interview in your local language. And also once you end up into an fellowship, this all kind of support you'll get there. And yeah, so don't feel कि नॉन मेट्रो बच्चों के लिए जिनको इंग्लिश ठीक नहीं है, इंग्लिश नहीं आती, कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं, उनके लिए फेलोशिप नहीं है. Just go for it and apply. It will give a different confidence and exposure to look at the city and in yourself also.
My internship experience was completely the opposite. I had no set criteria. I had no agenda in mind. Although I had shortlisted a few places, I don't know. Maybe in the long term, I would not have continued. Is something that I had reflected on. So I didn't sort of go forward. So for me, my internship experience was rather experimental than just like focused or want to continue from an internship to a full-time kind of a thing like that. And also secondly, because I didn't want to, I wanted to change cities. I didn't want to intern back in the city that I live in. So I'm from Bombay, and I have lived almost all my life there. And since many sort of development sector organizations are in Bombay, I chose not to apply in Bombay because I didn't want to be there. I wanted to explore a different city. And that was actually my the reason I thought, okay, I will apply somewhere else. So I interned with IIHS only at their Delhi office. And my work was on understanding masculinity through ethnography and kind of observational data in one of the low-income communities that in Delhi. It was part of an ongoing IIHS project. And for me, it was just exploratory. For me, I was also excited because that was the first time ever that I've been to Delhi. I've not been at all. So it was for me just exploring not just the topic itself, but also the city and how my experience of this city shapes how I look at the field and how I, sort of look at masculinity. So it was a 2 month sort of just no sort of set rules, no guidelines, just go to the field, just, sit at one place or whatever, whatever you're comfortable with, take detailed notes, try to, just reflect back, talk, at IHS, fellows will mostly be, they will know of this sentence called talking back to the text. So it was a reflective sort of 2 month internship for me, and the output was a summary of my own sort of understanding of what masculinity means in an urban place like Delhi. And then I continued full time in a different organization. So for fellows, for prospective fellows who would want to experiment also, the internship place is a good experience to explore and experiment in a setup that may not necessarily be based on your academic background. So somebody who's trained as an economist, wanting to intern in a place where economics is a criteria is fine. But somebody who's trained in social sciences who would want to explore an architectural or an urban planning or a design sort of internship would also make sense, because at least the 2 months internship would give you an idea as to how you see yourself in such a space. Is it a best fit? How do you bring your skills into a different kind of setup? What do you learn back, and how do you sort of have that exchange, have that rapport with a different team, people coming from different backgrounds, things like that. So for me, yeah, it was experimental, and I had a lot of fun time in Delhi. Yeah.
That's interesting. So this is really cool, like to really understand as to how you guys have moved
Planned
your
it.
way through. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm just going to retrace a few steps back into the application of the USP. So many of
Yes.
them get stuck in the essay section, and especially from people from 2 or 3 tier cities who want to be part of it, and then like, oh, we don't have any publications out, or how do you write a formal essay? Do you want to demystify that aspect as to what it is that IHS is looking for, or the faculties are looking at? Because it's also a very personal statement that you're making. It's like a questioning that you have in process.
Yeah, I mean, I got to know about UFP, to be very fair, just 2 days before the last date of application. So I started writing my yeah. So I started writing my application, and I was like कि ठीक है लिखते हैं तो, but I couldn't finish it on time. ठीक है. So then UFP, then IHS wrote me back saying कि finish your application, like we are really interested. And also I was like, I don't have any portfolio because I am trained in lawyer, and I just finished law, and it was the pandemic period of 2020. So I was like कि कोई internship का experience नहीं है और ये सब job का experience नहीं, but they're like it's okay, just write about any case you are involved in, write about your role. And also, so I just want to tell you all that it's very the and also the best part is that they'll not look at your grades, they'll not look at anything. मतलब they I remember कि the IHS wrote me back saying कि it's okay if you also engaged in any community meeting where you have played in a certain role, it's okay to write about that. Just tell us कि what is your understanding. We just want to know about your understanding about the urban, or what you want to learn, and what are you willing to learn about the urban. Are you interested in urban? are you interested in urban problems, spaces, governance, identity, and all that. And as for me, I was very much interested in people. I was interested in slums, bastis. So I wrote about that in my application, and my interview was also structured up like around my application. So yes, it was very much. I mean, for me, it was very much different, that whole process, because I just has to push me to write my application and to tell them about myself, because I didn't have any experience. I didn't have any portfolio and anything. So also I wrote it in Hindi also. I wrote some part in Marathi, some part in Hindi, some part in English. I gave my interview in all languages. So there, it was challenging for me to also write my application and give interview, but I felt ki the whole process was very, very inclusive, and they were pushing me. They knew that I'm struggling, and they were helping me in all steps. So for me, that was very, very, very nice, and I'm glad that I just took that efforts and I got this exposure now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think my application, the essays were really personal because I was able to write the, but my interview, if I look back, I don't know how I cleared the interview, because they asked me a question and then they spent 15 minutes explaining to me what the question meant, which I felt was so kind, because they weren't looking to see if I already had, prior knowledge about the
Yeah.
urban or, certain economic terms, and which is so unlike academic spaces. So, the person taking my interview actually took the trouble to give me these examples and to like go through it, and then helped me kind of think through what they asked, which I felt was just like amazing. And I actually didn't think after that I would make the cut, and I was, quite embarrassed. But yeah, I think they really, like help you. Like you don't have to come with, a certain thought process, a certain knowledge, a certain skill set. I think what they're looking for is like they actually help you, like, go through things or like understand things, and there's a lot of hand holding. So I don't think, yeah, the application process, I think you should do as much as you can do and not think a lot about, whether you're going to get through, because you never, you never know what they're looking for. So yeah, I just like to say that.
Yeah, for me, I was quite privileged because at a very early point in time, what I was studying kind of matched what I wanted to study, in the
Yeah.
fellowship. Uh, and that is why some of the questions were I mean, pretty okay to answer, like decent enough for me to answer. But honestly, that doesn't really stop people who are coming from other backgrounds to, not apply for the fellowship. I mean, for instance, in our batch, we've had a diverse group of people who are engineers, who are, people from who have studied commerce. And one would think, what is the correlation between commerce and urban planning, or, studying the city? But there is a story, there is always a story on how your discipline, how you can make how you can align your discipline with the fellowship, and that is by conveying your story. So for me, some of the questions that I answered were very similar to my work experience. And at that time, we had options that, out of 5, you can answer 3, I think. I don't know if the system it changes, but I consciously avoided very, direct, pointed urban planning questions. Because I did
Yeah.
not know, and funnily enough, during the interview, I was asked an urban planning question. So and the interviewers told me, take 5 minutes, think about it, and come and tell me what do you think of this. And I was really scared. But honestly, I just was honest about what I felt about
Hmm.
that issue. I didn't try to paint any sort of, complete rosy picture, or, like a very, how do I say, ideal sort of solution, or, that kind of a thing to the interview, to the people who interviewed me. and it was a conversation. It was a conversation on that topic.
Hmm.
And yeah, so it shouldn't be intimidating. Just be authentic is what I would say. Acknowledge your shortcomings, but also use them as an opportunity to sort of learn something new. Is what I would say. Uh, uh, and this goes for both the essays, the questions that are being asked, as well as the interview questions. For me, the interviews were not really intimidating because the environment was such that it was not a place where I was, there was only I was being asked questions and I was told to answer. Like I said, it was a conversation. I was made to feel comfortable. We asked each other's names and what we do, things like that. And then we came sort of when the entire sort of scene was set, we came to just trying to understand, more about this fellowship and things like that. So my advice to future fellows would be to not be intimidated. Like I said, be authentic, original, and yeah, just try to align your discipline. And yeah, just if you're really passionate, I think you'll definitely, yeah, you will go through it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, correct. Because IHS only wants to see the real you, the honesty. So it's okay if you don't think. It's okay to confess that. Because in my interview, I remember there are so many questions, and I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry, I have not thought about it. I'll
Yeah,
need some time. I'll need some time to think about it." They're like, it's okay." So they're making me think. So
yeah,
in that case, you have to be just honest and say it's okay. And they are like, "It's okay. That is why we want you guys." If you are willing to learn, if you know everything, then why would you apply for the fellowship? So yeah,
exactly.
just be honest and apply. It's okay if you don't know anything, and but you have the passion, and if you are interested to know about urban, so this place is for you then.
Yeah, I think you need to know what kind of piques your interest, and what they really do very well is they kind of like push you to think, because sometimes we think we have to think in one way, sometimes we're stuck. So they really create that space where you can actually think about things differently, and all sorts of kind of expressions and thinkings are like kind of like they help you make sense of it. So it's more a process more than like you have to be right or what is urban theory or things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just interest.
Yeah. Yeah. Also to
And
continue, I would just like, also advise upcoming, I mean, prospective fellows who would apply to also check the website, because that's a
Hmm.
really helpful tool to understand what is being expected out of you. I mean, the courses and the electives, testimonies of past, former fellows are already on the website, so that will eventually give you an idea. And through these courses and electives, the names and all of that, you will have an idea of what kind of topics are being discussed and studied. If you have any story to talk about, whether it's on climate change or sustainability, oh, I did this project on this particular topic, or oh, I've had an experience with this particular topic, at any level. So yeah, so a good read through the website and what is expected out of you before applying to the fellowship will give you a good understanding how to sort of write your essays, how to answer your questions, and how to give the interview.
that's interesting. I would also like to add that since the fellowship is a residential fellowship, so did that change some sort of dialogues that presented when you guys were together working on projects? Since everyone's from different backgrounds, different disciplines, and it also translates outside your classrooms, right? So how did that go about, those kind of dialogues and interactions?
Yeah, I'm from a batch with both offline and online teaching. So first 2 months we did online, and then I just called us, and we had to go by 14 days quarantine period, and also we have to like attend our classes from the our hostel and Zolo. So yeah, that 14 days gave us the time to, connect to our friends and talk and वो थोड़ा आइस ब्रेकिंग टाइप वो सारा 14 days हम लोग को मिल गया एंड it was very different, and what that smooth change from online to offline. So that 2 months we did what online. Then when we moved to IHS, our first day was very different. I mean, we already knew each other. So it was really helpful, that online offline thing, and it was very nice. And also I think IHS ka curriculum is such structured that you will learn more from your peers. You'll learn more from your fellows because classroom hota hai 5-6 hours ka. When you go back to your rooms, you will sit together, you will discuss some topics, you will discuss your learning, you will discuss your personal life also, and with all that different lens, matlab I am a lawyer, architect will tell me something very practically or very technically, then social sector ka like fellow will tell me that problem with very different lens. So, be it any problem, any question, we'll solve and we'll talk about it from so many different lenses, and that was very much helpful.
Yeah, so I didn't live on campus actually. I did because I'm from Bangalore, so I lived at home, but I feel like I really missed out on a lot because one, they had all these inside jokes which I just didn't get, and second, yeah, and secondly, they would like go back and read together and things like that, which I didn't really have access to because the hostel was really far and the commute was quite a bit for me. So yeah, but I think I really do regret that because I wish I did stay with the batch because I know that they would discuss the reading and get into heated arguments that would later carry on in class and things like that. So yeah, I think Vivek from my batch will be in a better position to speak about that.
But you're telling me you had an option to not stay at the hostel.
Yeah, I had at least during my time because I knew like at least 4-5 of us didn't stay at the hostel, but we would come together but that also kind of like then we would do assignments together because because having to make the commute and things, the logistics. But I really do wish that I'd actually stayed at the hostel because I know they had like a better, more close experience.
Yeah, so for me, I think it was a roller coaster ride, to be put frankly. Because I mean, you're living with a group of people for almost 6 to 7 months, for almost and mine and our fellowship was a full-time residential fellowship right from the start. We didn't have any. This was the pre-COVID era. So I think, yeah, at the start we were all excited, coming together, staying at this place called Stay Aboard. And I remember that, the WhatsApp group had already been made a few weeks in advance before we all even joined. So the excitement was really heightened. And then I think so it cooled down a bit after sort of getting to know each other, getting to know where, each one comes from, making friends. And making frenemies as well. They, as they say, keep your friends closer, keep your enemies closer, that way. So yeah, we used to spend a lot of our time at IHS because of lectures and assignments and also going to the field on practica, but also carry forward back at our hostel because the fellowship is so rigorous that honestly we didn't have time to think outside of the fellowship anything else, because we had to complete either our practica sort of submissions, our initial observations. Going to the field itself was a task, considering the commute, and since our hostel was pretty far, as Riddhi mentioned, a few of us had gone to KR Market late in the night. I mean, very early morning, sort of like 4-5-ish. That's when the market, actually is alive and kicking when the flowers are bought and things like that. So a lot of activity, movement throughout the day and night as well. Just carrying forward these discussions back at the hostel. Sitting in each other's rooms and discussing. But also, it gave us the opportunity to come together to see, who is good at cooking, who cooks what, coming together and, either cooking together or, having dinner together, things like that. So yeah, we had a lot of fun. Yeah, some jokes, not some inside jokes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that you also got exposure to cultural diversity in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
language, food, someday Maharashtrian food, someday Tamil food, someday this food, that food. It was fun.
It was
It
fun.
was the melting pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a good potluck.
But I think the fellowship really bonds you because, like, even after the fellowship,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like compulsory bonding. In the beginning, it's sort of like a bit much, but like, even after the fellowship, like, I can't imagine what I'd do without my batchmates. Like, I know who to go to if I have to write a cover letter. I know who to go to if I feel like, I want to be at a different place. And if I know who to go to if I want to apply to a certain job and I feel like I don't have the skill set. So I think, like, one, Sanjana said the peer learning is amazing, but you really have people who you can rely on for like anything,
Correct.
because
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. UFP will give you a friendship which you will cherish
yeah,
your throughout your life. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll say.
And that's
You can count
interesting
on
because
it.
it is not even a year that you're together,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, but you
exactly.
feel like, yeah, but you feel like you are friends for life, and it's
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, I think the intensity of the program brings out the good, the
yeah,
bad, the
the
ugly, the
bad.
arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I don't know how it would be if it would be a year, honestly. I mean,
yeah.
eight to
I
10
wish
months
it was
is
longer. Yeah, I was so sad to leave after. I was like, only nine
Yeah.
months. In the feedback form, I was like, make it longer.
Yeah. Same yesterday, I was like on Instagram only. I was seeing stories and post of this batch leaving Zolo and IHS, and they were like posting really sad and upsetting stories. Ki we are just leaving, it's finished. And so I was talking to my batchmate saying कि यार एक साल हो गया फिर से मिलते हैं, what is this, ये भी batch चले गई, and so it's very connecting.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I hope to see you guys in June though.
We are
for
excited
sure.
for it. For sure.
Yeah. So, if the audience has any questions to ask our dear fellows, our dear alumni who've taken out their time today to have this interaction, we're open to that.
Yes.
Meanwhile, another interesting aspect is that somebody that I know is into, let's say, psychology and comes from a very built environment scenario, right? So, does the program sort of help people with such mixed diversity or these questions about the urban itself, right? About public and the policies change? Does it sort of like bring in some sort of narrative for them? Because at the moment, what we've spoken about is people from the built environment or political science environment or law. But I think it's beyond just these certain sectoral categories that we've spoken about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I think it's interesting to think about the fellowship. Like, I think I would think about it in two different ways. So, one, I would think about it as like a domain, for example, understanding the urban, but I would also think about it as using the urban to kind of, either ask certain questions or use different forms of data. And I think, like, in both aspects, actually discipline is important, but it's also like not. You get what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
so one thing I was also actually really interested in asking both Sanjana and Vivek is about your disciplinary training. And so I, like Sanjana said, she was pretty sure that she wanted to be a lawyer, and I came into the fellowship saying I'm going to go as far away as from the law as possible, right? But by the end of it, I was just like, I've been crawling back to my discipline, and I was like, I'm
Hmm.
so sure that I probably want to study something different. Like, I want to study health, for example, but I want to kind of look at it through my discipline. Like I love where I am, but I'm pretty sure that I want to look at it through my discipline. So yeah, I think
But also like thinking that law is a long time course, like a 5 year course.
yeah,
So you sort of become very comfortable in your discipline that
exactly.
you start rerouting
Yeah,
any channel you take through that
exactly.
discipline. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes you feel like you've invest like I feel like I've invested so much and I studied so hard. How can yeah, but it's also like I think it also like it could also I know a lot of people who also like completely knew that they wanted to kind of study something, else, and the kind of like the fellowship gave them that confidence. It it kind of like nudged them to think about studying something else. So I think it's for like basically anybody. I think everybody can get something from it, irrespective of like your discipline. You can either like really push and pursue your discipline, or you can go as far away from it as possible. And I think each faculty really takes the time and really invests in like helping you, navigate that.
Hmm. I think the curriculum is made for both who comes to the UFP with the clear mindset ki what they want, or also if
Yeah,
they don't have any understanding of what
exactly.
they'll get, So जो भी आएगा कुछ लेके आओ कुछ नहीं लेके आओ कुछ ना कुछ पक्का ले जाओगे बट यहाँ से so yeah it is structured that way.
There's a question from the audience where they're asking, could you elaborate on how you wrote your SOP,
Okay.
statement of purpose?
Okay, so for my SOP, I actually really like I'm gonna be completely honest and say I didn't really know anything about the urban. I didn't even know actually you could study the urban separately. Like, but I knew things about like for example, when I was working at Amnesty, I knew things about how, for example, migrant laborers were more vulnerable to the criminal justice system because one, they didn't have documentation, for example, and that made them more vulnerable to like police arrest. So that's also a lens of like looking at the urban through migration, or like social mobility and things like that. So I kind of framed my SOP from the experiences that I had during work and all these questions that I had, and I kind of use that as a framework to think about what it would mean, if I could then have this better understanding of like cities and urban processes, that would kind of help me, like go back to these questions that I had. So I think I really broke it down, and I didn't use any like technical language, I didn't even use any law. I just use like my narratives and my understanding of things to write my SOPs. They were very simple. So there are a lot of things that I didn't really understand, but I kind of made use of my personal experience or how I would think of something. So yeah, that's how I kind of put down my essays.
Yeah, for me also, I think it was pretty. I kept it as close to my academic and sort of work experience as possible, very close to that. Like I mentioned before, taking courses in urban governance and urban politics, and just acknowledging that okay, I have limited experience in the urban, although I have taken courses in these topics, and I'm interested to know more. And you can mention your sort of daily interactions at classwork, what kind of books or what kind of references that most provoked you about looking or reading more about the urban. Was it from a very activist sort of perspective, or was it more from a sort of corporate governance or kind of governance perspective of sorts? For me, I looked at my application sort of reflected the kind of the stakeholder coordination that happens between policy and implementation, by looking at stakeholder coordination. So my experience at Praja, just, like I mentioned, coordinating, scheduling meetings with councillors, and how that is really a difficult task. Just scheduling a meeting with the local corporator, them canceling on you multiple times, them not listening to you. At certain times, they just refute your data and saying, "Who are you? Why you come here? What is your agenda?" Things like that. So these are real life examples of how people who are in positions of power, who are tasked to implement certain reforms, whether it's education, health, or whatever. What are the kinds of interactions you have with them on a day-to-day basis? How do they respond to these questions of urban issues, things like that? So my essay was mostly reflected on that, on the kind of coordination challenges at the ground level, on bringing people together from different political ideologies. For instance, that could be one small a small experience of a larger social problem that is affecting multiple systems across our country today, whether it's the health system, the political system, where you have people across different political ideologies, difficult to come together and agree on a particular issue, right? That matters for you the most. So things like that, and how that affects the urban, how that affects the population or the people that you care about, right? So my SOP kind of reflected that experience.
Hmm. For me, I think my social and my geographical location shaped my SOP. So, coming from a non-metro city and belonging to a Dalit community, I knew and my SOP was not at all around my discipline. It was not related to law by any chance. So yeah, because since my childhood, I was very much struggling to make sense of the slums and bastis and the Ambedkar and Buddha statue, matlab, right next to railway station. And so that was like कि cities में ऐसा क्यों होता है, मतलब while traveling also I was like कि I can see Baba Saheb's and Buddha's statue in slums or in bastis. So I want to make sense of that. I want to know how the cities are governed, and what is the master plan, how are cities, why they are living on the boundary. And also I want to know urban from my social location and from my geographical location. So I am interested in urban from that view, from that lens, and not from my discipline. So my SOP was surrounded to that. Yeah.
I hope that answers the question. And well, we're sort of running out of time, so I'd like to thank you guys for joining in, taking some time out, and being part of this AMA Alumni Edition. For those of you who still have queries and questions, can write to us on ufp.info@iihs.ac.in, and the floor is open to you guys to make a closing statement if you want to.
Yeah, so I think, like, to be honest, like, UFP really changed my life. It changed the way I thought about things. It changed, it gave me so much more confidence, and and the friends that I made, like, I'm so grateful for everything. I mean, I had such a great time that like, after the fellowship, I forced like two other people. I was like, write your SOP, sent it to me, and made sure that they got into the program. Because yeah, I'm not even kidding. You can probably ask them. But yeah, so it's such a great experience if you'd like to understand the urban, if you'd like to acquire certain skill set, if you'd like to, develop a peer. So yeah, I'd really encourage everybody to just give it a shot, and wholeheartedly, and at least apply for it. And then you never know where it can take you. It was instrumental to shaping my career, and the opportunities that I got, I don't think I'd ever be able to get them without having access to the fellowship.
Yeah, I think just go for it and apply. As Riddhi said, You never know what it will give you. It's okay if you don't have clear understanding what it will give you or what you will get, but just get into it. I'm sure it will give you something. Because for a litigating lawyer, it was struggling. It was challenging for me to go into a technical space to learn urban, but I made sense of it, and also it has given me so much thing. It has given me friends, networks,
Yeah.
and access to faculties anytime with any problem, with say it a personal or academic problems, anything. Or yeah, it has given me a confidence, a different exposure to technicalities, different exposure to social understanding of a city, and also a confidence to apply for an organization with the intervention of both, especially research and
Hmm.
litigation. So, yeah, without UFP, I don't think I could ever apply for an organization who does research, especially. So, it has given me a lot.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, for me, the fellowship has given me a sense of fulfillment. At the end of my work, I look back and sometimes I feel I wouldn't have reached this place had it not been the fellowship. Because it gave
Hmm.
me access to not just friendships, but also to a lot of resources and connections, not just faculty, but just names.
Name.
Like 4 or 5 years down the line, I wouldn't have known so many organizations exist today in different fields, working on different disciplines.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
the internship process that the fellows go through is exactly that. They get to know different fields exist, what are the organizations that are there both in India and abroad, and that pushes them to go check their websites, check what do they do, who are the team members, and see what kinds of exciting work is there around the urban, around cities. So for me, it has given me, like, it has expanded my understanding of this discipline so much that I'm now thinking of what I want to do in the future, right? What plans I have, whether it's career or work, either a PhD or a postdoc or things like that. And like 5 years down the line, I had not even thought that okay, I will do so much. So it has given me a sense of fulfillment and confidence as well, to work on projects, to think, oh, now I can write a grant on something, and sort of like send it for funding, or work on an individual project, or things like that. So yeah, it has opened my it has given me access to a lot of resources, connections, people. Yeah, so I'm really grateful for that. So it's a once in a lifetime. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity for me,
True.
and yeah, I made the most of it. So
There's a quick question by another viewer. They're asking, I'm a fresher and don't have any internship and work experience. How do I approach essays and questions? I think this is something we've already covered during our conversation. And I would request the audience to write to us on ufp.info@ihs.ac.in, and we'll get back to you regarding this. Or you can follow up this conversation when it's posted again the next week. So thank you,
Sure.
Riddhi, Sanjana, and Vivek, for your
Thank you
time.
so much.
It
thank you
was
so much.
Thank you
lovely to
so
have this
much.
conversation, and I hope that
Yes,
in the future we have more engagements with you guys.
for sure.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Okay, bye
Take
bye.
care.
Bye.
Have a good evening.